Hello, my name is Sorg, and as I was learning how to be a character artist, I kept coming across videos that wouldn't fully explain the pipeline, and for quite a while there, I probably wasted lots of time trying to learn what the pipeline was. I wanted to make this video namely for that, but secondly because of this great product I found from Verold. This video is going to be less of a how-to demo and more of a pipeline demo. Verold is a great way to get your models online into potential employers' hands so they can actually see real time what you did on your model, and it's not a question of, well, how many polys are there? They can see them. And furthermore, you can also, be in a group meeting with a lead if you're already working somewhere, and they can view their stuff real time if maybe they were out of town or something. There's tons of different ways Verold can be applied in a work environment or even in your personal blog or website. It's really a great tool, and in this video I hope I explain the pipeline to get to Verold and how to use Verold as part of that pipeline. It may just be a tool that you want to use while you're making a model. You want to see your stuff, how it might look in-game if you're a video game artist. I mean, I use it all the time to look at my models and then go back and change some things, and it's just a quick, simple way to view your models in real time. You want to start by building a basic low poly in any 3D program. It doesn't have to be that detailed because ideally you're going to sculpt up your detail and then retop anyways, so you're not even going to use that. That being said, I actually reuse my low poly and put the UVs on it later on and reproject it, but that's a whole different video. The basics of sculpting and adding detail is you want to start on your lowest subdivision and build up. You don't want to move on to the next level until the last one was finished. So a lot of mistakes I see is people jump right up to the highest sublevel and start sculpting. That will just make your models look rough and bumpy, and it's bad practice. Another thing you want to keep in mind is working over the whole object, just like in drawing, rather than working on little sections. I had a lot of fun making the sculpture. For some reason, anatomy and muscles are something I like to draw, something I like to sculpt. Really, in a couple hours, you can get something really amazing done. And with this arm, it was pretty simple because later on you'll see I made 2 arms, and you only really have to make the one. So this process went really quick. Within a day's time, it was done. Less than a day, a couple hours. Again, like I said, as you start sculpting your high uh, details, you want to not necessarily stick to one area. You want to work over the whole object as you go. It's generally the better practice. This part, all I did was duplicate the mesh and pose everything and add a background. I also added some poly paint, but normally I wait till Photoshop to do that. Before you unwrap, you'd probably want to retop, but since I had a good mesh, I just went with the original ones I had. The unwrapped I kept pretty much basic for the video. Verold made a really cool plugin for ZBrush. It's really simple to use, and it's a quick way to get your models into Verold. It generates all the maps for you, so there's no need to worry about that. All you really need to do is delete the highest subdivision levels, and then from there you pre-process all. Then you select the amount of decimation and you decimate, and then you can check for errors and then merge subtools. After that, you want to hit upload, select the level of detail you want, and then upload it to Verold. Simple as that. I'm going to be using ZBrush's decimation tool. The only real reason I want to use this is because I want to have different levels of decimation per subtool. You want to keep UVs if you have any UVs, and then you want to pre-process current for whatever subtool you're on, and then find the level of decimation you want, and then decimate current. And you want to do this for each subtool, and then all you have to do from there is export or GoZ your model, and then import it into your 3D package. There's two different directions you can go with your model at this point, depending on what you want. But this one is for the high poly decimation master. You want to import your model, and then you want to reset where your pivots are and put everything to 0, 0, 0, and then reset your X forms, export as FBX. If you're going to want maps or a low poly game model, what you're going to need to do is export your model from ZBrush that has the UVs on it. You want to export each subtool at its highest subdivision level and its lowest subdivision level. So in this case, you're going to have 6 OBJs when you're done. Xnormals is one of the best ways to generate maps in my opinion, and it's pretty simple to use. All you have to do is right click and add meshes, your high poly meshes to the first area with these settings, and then you want to go to the next area and right click and add the low poly meshes. And then in your baking options you want to find a file destination to save to, and you want to set up all your maps the way you want. This is how I set up normal maps. And I tend to go with 4K maps just because I can always go down from there if I need to. And then just hit generate maps. You're going to want to bring your maps into Photoshop so you can clean them up. And I generally do my textures in Photoshop also because I tend to get the best results out of that. In this example, I don't really do a whole lot. In a normal situation, I'd make a whole bunch of different types of maps, but just for purposes of the video, I only made 3 maps in all. For low poly, you want to do the same thing you did for the Decimate high poly earlier. You want to import your low poly, you want to merge them as one. You want to reset the pivots and then set everything to 0, 0, 0. And then from there you want to reset your X forms and then export as FBX or OBJ. Now that your models are ready, you can drag and drop them and your maps into the scene. And when they load, you can select your model and then apply the material to it, and then go to your material and start setting your materials up with the maps you just generated. There's going to be different settings for everything and for everyone, so it's just probably best to get in there and see what works best. Now I already have a scene set up, so we're going to open that up, and then we're going to drag and drop the model and the maps into the scene. Once that's done, you can select your material, or actually you want to select your your model and then apply the material to it, and then go and select your material and start applying your maps to it in the different settings you want for your scene. Verid also has a bunch of great rendering modes for your models, so you can share with someone or they can look at your poly count, a bunch of different options. There's even some 3D viewing options if someone is fortunate enough to have a 3D viewer or TV. One of my favorite parts of Verid is the ability to show off your models in your own website, and they give you the tools so you can do this. So the reasons for having this is if someone wants to look at your model, they don't have to guess at what you did. They can look at the actual model and see what you did, and it has all the same rendering options that the viewer has. It's the exact same thing, just put into your website. It's a pretty simple process to load them onto your site. You just get your website set up for it, and then you go back to Verald, You find the embedded code, and you copy it. I'm going to do one both for the high poly and the low poly. You go back to your website, and you paste them in. Simple as that. I hope you enjoyed the video and that it was useful for you. I had a lot of fun making the models, and Verold is such a great product that, as you can see, I have it all over my website. It's really cool. I want to thank the guys over at Verold, and you can check out my work at tylersorg.weebly.com, and hope to see you around. Alright, thanks. Bye.